Hello, assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Hello, Carol. We were chatting away behind the scenes, but hello, Carol, assalamu alaikum again, as if we just started talking. So why don't we start with an introduction to you, as if we've never talked to you before, as if it's our first stream for people who haven't,
Okay.
you know, say something about yourself. So some of the basic things. I mean, you're in America to start off with.
No, I mean, I don't really have anything really to say about myself. I'm American. I'm Muslim. I picked it. I like it.
And you converted a long time ago. Long time ago.
Yeah, I
Way
converted.
beyond 10 years ago, yeah?
Yeah, about 42 years ago. Yeah.
42 years ago. So not new to Islam at all. Um,
I don't speak Arabic or anything.
that's a good thing to, it's worth mentioning. All right, cool. And we don't need to do long introductions. We'll find out about you from like the way you talk and whatever you
Mm.
think as we go along. And myself, I'm in London, England, and I'm a Muslim. I'm particularly an Ahmadi Muslim. What does that mean? It means ideologically, it means I'm a follower of the second coming of Jesus, metaphorical second coming. But what does it practically mean? That's what we're going to be talking about. Like this very, I would say, very interesting, unique community. Why anybody would say it's unique. Hopefully, you might see how and which way it's unique. It's in short, I will say before I go into it, it's sort of like it's in the very international, very organized, yet it's not just the structure. It's very much alive. I would say it's like continuously something's always happening. I just went around the corner to pick up my kids for the play area, and they weren't there. It's like, and then I was like, and then I bumped into another Ahmadi around the corner because everybody knows everybody, and then I know that my daughter's probably at one of the other Ahmadi households. I'm guessing, I'm hoping. So it's that kind of thing. It's always something always happening. And
So you guys move into similar neighborhoods then?
no,
No.
actually, yes, actually. Sorry, you're right. Okay, so that's a whole different story. Let's answer the questions as they come along. Okay, so how do I answer that? So the Khalifa, it's a lot of things kind of revolve around the Khalifa. So for a long time, the Khalifa basically had his center in his office, let's say in very close to Wimbledon tennis. You a tennis fan? Not really. Yeah, I am, but was anyway. And so the office used to be there. It's a place called Southfields, but anyway, I'm going into too much detail already. And so he was there, and loads of people moved around there. And now he's moved like into a bigger area because the community is always growing. Like this is a common feature. Like things are growing exponentially all the time, very quickly. Every 10 years is a completely different community, let's say. Um, and so he's moved out of, let's say, into the countryside, we call it. Is that a phrase in America? Countryside into
Countryside.
sticks, yeah. So outer London to get more space, and we've got, let's to put it in simple terms, like an Ahmadiyya city out there. We do build a lot of different things. And he's got a slightly bigger space there with loads of more offices, more office space to operate, because we're always, just to give you an idea of what operate means, just which I'll go into, like all the Ahmadis regularly write to him from all around the world, and you've got teams like opening up the letters, categorizing into languages, translating them, summarizing them, and then he'll like spend about 5 seconds on a letter sometimes, and then he'll like respond. Sometimes it works in phases. I think we have growth spurts at times when things go really quickly, and then they kind of start failing, and the replies all seem to be the same, and then it hopefully works out again. Um, and we know different people in every department. So I was talking to somebody in the letter department, in the road parallel to me, Everybody's helping in different places in different capacities and things like that. So yes, Pete, and so when he moved out there, loads of people moved out in this kind of area, but not just exactly the area, kind of spread out there. And I did a similar thing when we bought, or we made the largest mosque in London, and then loads of Ahmadi Muslims moved into that area. And before, no Asian person was there. There's a lot of Pakistani Ahmadi Muslims. Um, there are of different ethnicities, a lot of Africans as well, and relatively few English white. Um, yeah, so that's a quick answer to that. I could go. What would you like me to talk about next? So I'm kind of going with the flow. I could go into structure. I could go into a little bit of stories with pictures. I've got some pictures that I randomly just collected from the last few weeks. What do you feel like? Gut feeling? Because you're probably going to say the same thing as probably the viewers will be like, oh,
Um, I I was kind of interested in the structure because you kept talking about, you kept saying we're the only ones with a caliph and the structure, you kept saying that. But I like pictures. I like people. I like to see pictures of people.
okay. So let's see. I'll do a bit of both. I'll
Okay.
zoom past the pictures until I get to the text, and then I'll go back up again.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, because you have to get past the pictures to get to the. So I'll explain one picture. It might just give you a bit of an idea, right? Okay, this is the engineering conference, international engineering conference, happened like last week as part of something called the IAAE, international. I don't know what it is, and I'm not even part of it. I just turned up because my friend, one of my friends was supposed to chill out, and then he said, "Oh no, this thing is happening. Do you want to go to it?" And I just turned up, and there's supposed to be an important meeting, and they're kind of laughing because I'm taking a selfie and right in the middle of an important meeting, but we're at the back, so I can get away with it. And then you can see there's a huge camera. So the pictures tell 100 stories. So there's a huge camera. Why? Because we also have a international TV station, and pretty much everything's run by volunteers. But also, as we're getting bigger, we're paying more and more people to be like the fundamental core parts just to keep things going because there's so many things happening.
Permanent employees.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
we've got hundreds, maybe thousands, possibly internationally. It's growing. Everything's growing very, very quickly all the time. So I'm going to avoid going through all the wonderful pictures of the last few weeks, which tell a lot of different stories, and then I'm going to go to the text bit, and they're not just about. When I took the pictures, I thought, that's the important part of the story to tell. Like let's say something goes wrong in the family, somebody dies, what happens, what's the result? And then one of the pictures reminded me like how everybody started giving food in the neighborhood, like just to help out. So it's kind of all these little nice things are a very important part of the whole thing. So let's zoom in to make this a bit bigger. So you got caliph is the anglicized version of the proper word khalifa, which is the let's say the proper way in which Muslim communities are supposed to be led by. This is so after Prophet Muhammad, there were what are known as four rightly guided caliphs, and then there were sort of slightly, let's say, increasingly politicized versions of it. So on the top you got Khalifa, and then this is me trying to get. Then you got like a national Amir. So Khalifa is the international leader in the Ahmadi Muslim community. Amir means, technically it's an Arabic word which means prince. Actually, I wrote these words really quickly, not intending to show them. Now that there, I'll start translating. There's a lot of Arabic words. And I didn't really think about it. Because I didn't think of showing you this, guys. So it'll be quite
That's
funny.
okay. That's okay.
Rogue. That's me. I'm rogue. I'll
What is
explain that.
that?
Rogue, as in I don't fit in. I'll explain that in a bit.
Wait, what is Hudam? Hudam?
Khuddam. Okay,
Hudam.
so under the kind of the national level, we're split into, let's say, three main categories. Young men, that's under 40s.
Hmm.
And the young men under 40 are responsible for the kids. So khudam is an Arabic word which means servants. Atfal actually it's just another Arabic word which means kids, basically. It actually means all kids, but we're using it in Ahmadi Muslim community as boy kids, kid, uh, male children under 15.
Okay.
And then parallel to Khudama and Sar, I'm Ansar. These actually names taken from, you might know this, like the Ansar of Medina, like
Yeah.
so we took it from that, but it literally means the helpers. It's an Arabic word again. So you've got like, and then you've got, of course, the ladies, the Lujna, which Lujna means like, also means servants, but like, yeah, I think that's what it basically means. Um,
Lady helpers.
yes, that's right.
Okay.
Okay. And then like that far, which is the boys under 15, you got the girls under 15. Interestingly, I think a little bit, or let's say wisely, I think. You can tell me what you think about this. So the men are separated into, well, to be a man, let's say you have to be 15 to 40. And then, well, I mean, young man, let's say, and then 40 onwards is Ansar. But the ladies are not separated like that. It's just 15, so you can't tell if you're over 40. What do you think about that?
You can't tell if you're
So the
over.
ladies are not separated into the same age categories. So you don't. So the men, when they reach 40, you're like, everybody knows you're part of this category because you go off to events for those things. Everybody knows you're going off for it. But we don't have the same categories for ladies. Like you all go to the within the, or their organization, their own events. They will have like maybe age categories or something like that if they want to, right? But it's not like official. Like you don't have to. I think maybe you're wondering who cares, whatever. But the idea is that not to make it publicly known because maybe I think ladies are more conscious about their age, so they don't want to be known like, oh,
Right,
you reached the 40 plus.
they're just giving them more privacy, in other words. So
Yeah.
okay, so if you see a list, then you just don't you're not guessing the age of the person. Like, okay, she
Yeah, and also like, okay, she's going off to the older ladies events. They won't be. And so you said about the list. Yes, I do have lists of like depending on what category you're in. Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, so if you got a list, and sometimes I have lists of the ladies if I'm working on a certain level, which is the not in the Khadam and so sorry, the like young men's or old men's, but kind of at this
okay.
sort of
Wait a minute.
some things.
What's the difference between the Khodam and the Ansar again?
So Khudam, young men, and Ansar, older men, men over 40.
Oh, okay, okay, I got it.
Yeah, and there's also
Okay.
some significance to these things. Like 40 is supposed to be the age of spiritual maturity. So, like, you've kind of finally developed, let's say, and it has a link with, prophethood and things like that. So, many prophets have become prophets at age of 40. Um, so there are all sorts of things like that. And then even parallel to that, we have things like Humanity First. I just wrote HF. It's basically an international organization, no charity arm, let's say, but it's for everybody. It's like serving all of humanity. It's not anything to. It's like not just for Ahmadi Muslims. In
Now,
fact,
who
when
sets this up? Who's in charge of this?
somebody put somewhere in charge of it, like but it's kind of separate kind of section.
Okay, so
Uh,
these are like separate. Okay, they're not in part of a hierarchy. They're just separate. I
yeah,
don't know what
it's
you call it.
yeah. There's something. So it's so Humanity First has got its own separate arm,
Right.
direct from the Khalifa. That would be a way of describing it. A lot of things go through the national Amir. Um, but some things are kind of direct from the Khalifa. So the IEEE, which is the engineering arm, also direct from the Khalifa. And so Humanity First, like I remember, is a lot of these things are relatively new. So I was there when it started in London when I was 15, 14, roughly that age, when it was like a very tiny organization. Now it's a multi-million pound international organization. Um, and I could probably tell endless stories of how it used when it started. You know, it started. I don't know if you remember the Balkan Wars, Yugoslavia, and so we thought we got to do something. There's a lot of people suffering on our doorsteps, and nobody was helping them because they were Muslim, basically. Um, and so couple of people went there right in the middle of the mines and everything, you know, risked everything to go there. And I was a bit young, and I think my mum would have been very annoyed if I went, so I didn't go that time. But I helped with boxing, the aid, and things like that. And we were working till 3 o'clock in the morning. There's endless stories about how these things happen, you know, and it builds a lot of connection and very long term connections between people because we do so many crazy things that you remember forever.
This is
um,
HF we're talking about.
yeah, so let me write this. Humanity first. It's probably easier to remember rather than looking at
Okay.
more and more acronyms. You've probably got enough Arabic words that I should annotate them as I go along. Let's say ladies. Uh, let's say old men. That's me. Um, and then I'll just the high levels, and then young men. Yeah, young men 15 to 40 basically. um yeah, and then you've got what else did I have? You've got all sorts of things. You've got the letters department,
Wait
which
a minute. I
oh sorry,
interrupted. You
go
didn't
on.
finish with the humanity first thing. So you guys got all this stuff pretty much for the Bosnians and stuff. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's how it started, but now it's grown massively.
Mm.
We're like doing things all over Africa. Okay, when I say things, let's give you a few ideas. um Making model cities is one of them. Model cities means going to villages, um, and giving them electricity, building whole infrastructure there, um, solar powered, all the basic needs, water pumps, all for free, and you don't have to become Ahmadi Muslim either. And one of the things especially we do in Humanity First, they often don't know who we are, sort of thing. They just know maybe some Muslims, because the idea is that it's not a trade for we do this for you, we get something back. um some other arms, maybe, I'm not sure, arms of the community, they might, I can't remember, but generally it's kind of policy not to, definitely don't preach when you're giving things. That's one of the rules. um that could be for any sort of humanitarian work. So IEEE, engineering, there's kind of an overlap between these two. They're all making a lot of water pumps and things.
Okay,
Um,
so engineering isn't just a bunch of engineers. It's also people doing that kind of engineering work, kind of like Corps of Engineers in the military.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I mean, it's
not
also,
really engineers. Not everybody's an engineer, but they're doing that.
yeah, and they could be like computer people, like, but yeah, but to facilitate the whole thing. Um, and
Are they
so,
digging the ditches?
not a bit, maybe getting machines to do it.
Okay, I was comparing it to the military. The Corps of Engineers um, would be the big, bridge builders and the digging. They were doing that kind
Oh,
of
no, it's
construction.
more like high level stuff,
Okay.
I would say. So what happens is that, if we've got more facilities, especially in the Western world, we would, and if you're fortunate enough to be educated particularly well in a particular area of engineering or something, we'll send people all the time, you know, to areas in poorer parts, let's say Africa and all over the world, and say, implement a certain system, like usually from what I know, because I'm not an expert in this particular area, water pumps is a big thing, and electricity and a few things. And they were also responsible, I think, in part for making mosques. So when I went to this meeting, in Germany, for example, they've got 100 mosque campaign, which is a bit of an old campaign. So over the pandemic, there were 6 mosques made in Germany, just to give you an idea of like different things that are happening.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's like a big thing. It's not really religious exactly, but the different caliphs. We're on the fifth caliph at the moment. Um, Different caliphs brought in or had a passion for certain things, or brought in, and then they're continued. And so one is homeopathic medicine, and one why. So for people who don't know what homeopathic, have you ever, do you know what do you know about homeopathic medicine?
Well, I didn't mind listening to you talk about it's where you have a disease and they're kind of giving you a little bit of something that's sort of it's almost like a vaccine, but it's not a vaccine. It's a
Yeah,
little bit of something, and then your body can learn how to attack that, and then it can make itself immune to it.
that's right. Okay, so basically, it's extremely diluted. Let's say poison, like so
Yeah.
diluted that in theory it kind of doesn't exist. And then you just put it on top of bits of sugar, and apparently it works. And you don't have to believe it works if you want it, but why is it supported is because, well, the fourth caliph particularly liked it, and a lot of people have had positive experiences from it. I think I've had quite a few positive experiences. So I have a nagging doubt about it because it's so weird. But like it seems to work a lot from the things I've tried. So, and sometimes it doesn't as well. So but why did he support it? Is because it was supposed to be like enabling lots of people to get medicine rather than having the really expensive drugs. It's a way of getting really natural. It's let's say medicines that engage the internal mechanisms of the body, the immune systems and things like that, rather than being something what modern drugs do. They kind of impose themselves on the body, and they mask and hide problems. And there's a lot of issues with, big pharma. You don't want to. I don't know. Have you? Not a lot of people who are not fans of big pharma. Let's say. Do you know what I mean by that? Big pharma. You must know the phrase.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's something to do with that. It's about so all these things are for free, given out for free to the community, and actually anybody who comes in. That's important to say. People can just walk into a mosque and say, "We would like to have a bit of that," and yeah, and so cool. I can see comments. They're working at least. Thanks for testing out Brew. Hello, I'm back. Cool. I do remember you from somewhere, but I can't remember. Maybe I need to do more live streams. I don't remember. Um. So yeah, and then there's
Homeopathy's
go
not
on.
not some rinky dink stupid thing. Homeopathy is a good thing.
Hmm.
It's just um it's a little bit counterintuitive when they explain it to you, but I don't think it's bad. I took it for something one time. I don't remember what it was. I actually did do homeopathy for something one time, and
Hmm.
it's not a. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with people using it, and it's a different way of healing. And I think it's good. That it might not end a case of somebody who has a really bad maybe it wouldn't work as fast as an antibiotic for something that's a fast moving disease. Maybe it won't work for that, but it works for other things, sure.
Yeah.
It's a
Um.
good idea to keep it going. It's a good idea to keep it going.
Yeah. So we've got free dispensaries run by volunteers who study it for years and years. We've got a Khalifa wrote a book. And the book was based on years of lectures, and all the lectures were on our TV station, which is for free as well. In fact, our TV station, the first Muslim, when satellites first came out, satellite stations first came out, it was the first Muslim satellite station. So we're the first in a lot of things, just because, not because we're big or anything like that. Actually,
Where did
oh,
where
sorry,
did it beam out of?
sorry.
Where did it beam out of? Where was the home station located?
Oh, so in London,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So yeah, and loads of volunteers try to figure out how to do all this kind of stuff. So people who didn't know what they were doing, running a TV station. That's how it always starts. Just like Humanity First, we had no idea what we were doing, and then it just grows and grows, and slowly we know what we're doing to some extent, and always learning. It's just a whole bunch of guys. So one of the things I think I want to get across is. Um, first of all, I don't want it to sound like it's all perfect. That would be just rubbish. And it's not realistic. Nothing. Um, let me put it in a sort of cheeky way. There's loads of people who've got no idea what they're doing, um, and they're far from perfect. Really annoying, and they're all different ways because they're all different from each other. They're not just one blob of people. But somehow we managed to do a lot of impressive things, I would say. Like people and I'll go through the pictures, like, oh, you did and people, it's very hard to compare. Like we would do, you might hear I often go see adverts from YouTube. There's multi-million pound people who've got millions of pounds, and it's like we did 3 water wells or 5 water wells or something. It's like we did 100 this year. Amini Muslims, like 100 and something this year, and probably somebody listening who's an Amini Muslim, like, what, you said 100? It's like 200. What are you talking about? Because I'm not in that department. But the point is, like, we punch way beyond our weight, um, and we do loads of crazy things. But we're also very, let's say, tough on ourselves as well. Like when you look at within a system, and if you're part of the system, so we often find it amusing that we're really annoyed with our own organizations. Oh, it could be this bit. And then people come from outside and go, wow, how do you do that? And we're listen like, oh, you don't know all the creaking, all the bits that are going wrong. But yeah, and then we kind of appreciate what we're doing as well, because we see like, oh yeah, it's true. Like there's not much that can compare to that. So what I'm trying to do there is I'm trying not to say it's perfect, but yet despite the imperfections and all, it's kind of like a massive family where, and in any family, everybody's annoyed with everybody in their different ways and got their different opinions, but somehow we work together despite that. And that's, for me, that's really important lesson for the world to learn, because nowadays everybody's fighting with everybody. Everybody's annoyed with every other category. Like even women are against men because there's feminism and whateverism and all these new categories of people being formed. And I think there's something important to be learned there. I suppose. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, well, there's that saying, familiarity breeds contempt,
Yeah.
and nobody fights as much as a family does, but they still stick together. So,
Yeah. That's it.
something like
That's about right. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Like
okay.
this morning, just to keep it real, it's just this morning I was like, was it this morning or last night? It started last night. So there's somebody annoying. It's like I've got my rogue YouTube channel. Okay, it's not very rogue actually. It's the Khalifa kind of, somehow he's very good at remembering lots of people's names, and somehow remembers me. And when I go to meet him, and that's another thing, we all get to meet him in his office, family visits and things like that. But it's like a increasingly long queue nowadays. Um, and so, long story short, I like to do my preaching thing. This is essentially preaching, but in a, I don't know, weird way maybe. Um, um, and so some national department said, no, you're rubbish at what you're doing, stop it. And I said, all right. But then before that happened, I'd written a letter to the Khalifa, and I was saying this is a project that I've started. And then he was very intrigued by the letter and he wanted to find out more. And then I said, oh, it's been shut down. So the way he didn't ask directly. He sent somebody to ask for phone me up, and then I said it's shut down. And he's then, long story short, he said no. I'm gonna write letter to the person in charge of this country, which is the UK, and he said you don't stop this guy, let him do his thing, because he liked my idea, which is basically the idea is happiness classes and interacting more with the public directly, because some of our stuff on our, what's it called, our TV station is, I would describe as inward looking, but that's because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm always like, yeah, I'm always thinking about how it's wrong and how it could be better and pushing it to its limits. But I don't think it's particularly pushing to its limits. But anyway, that's how I explain it. But anyway, so this morning and last night there was a guy who's kind of like one of, and I don't like naming people because it's against the teaching of Islam. It's called backbiting. Even if it's true, it's not so good to say things about particular people, and and it's not even particularly him that could be wrong. It could be me, right? It's like he was saying you're not like intellectual enough to be debating Sunni Muslims. He was saying. Um, and so we had another part of the interesting story is that like he's in Canada, um, and so but I know somebody who knows him, so I got his phone number and I started WhatsApping him and saying, "What's going on? Why are you trolling my trolling my saying negative things in my in the comments of my YouTube videos?" Um, so and then we agreed to disagree and blah blah blah, and it's happened in the past. Sometimes we have angry phone calls and we're best friends the next year or something else happens. So I don't know, it's just a bit of a story. You can see kind of like I'm a sort of a rogue department that doesn't fit into any other department, maybe because I'm entrepreneurial blood kind of thing, and a lot of the other people are like naturally more slow moving and maybe eventually do what I'm doing, who knows, but whatever. Yeah, I don't know, does that, don't know, was that a bit like interesting or was that not the direction you're interested in?
Well, it's kind of interesting because it's like accepting it, but at the same time not being responsible for it. Is that how you got up with the rogue name?
No,
It's
I
like,
gave myself the name Rogue.
but it's
This is
like they
just,
don't have to claim it as yeah,
oh
well,
yeah, I could be like an experiment, let's just say, and see if it
yeah. And
works
let's say
out.
you, if you totally blow it, they can just say, "Well, we didn't really do
Yeah,
this."
yeah, yeah. This
Yeah,
just
it's like,
that
okay,
guy doesn't
let's
know what
see
he's
what happens.
doing. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can see
I'm
that.
fine. I'm
Okay,
fine with that. I'm fine with it being an experiment. I have
yeah,
fun being
yeah.
crazy. Okay. Um, but I would say, it's getting me. They should no. They should be supporting me more. I would say, because I'm like the Khalifa said, you're on the board doing something. But I suppose what's worth mentioning here, and it's probably pretty important, I'd say, the Khalifa is like a dad. What do I mean by that? Like if you've got kids and one's on drugs and one's a good boy and one's a good girl and whatever, you treat each one differently and you don't reject any of them, like despite all their weaknesses. And so he says this is a good thing, like for example what I'm doing, but he won't force people to follow, support it. And I can see the logic because by nature, like I'm a big fan of the old bell curve, and the bell curve is like a distribution of how people behave. And there's always like the 3% who are the early adopters. I'm a big fan of all this kind of stuff, right? And so everybody else, the 97%, they're kind of relatively conservative. And so I can kind of understand like whatever I'm doing, they might not want to do, and it's too scary and whatever. And I let them be scared by themselves. That's fine. That's their thing. So I don't know if that explains anything. So I wish they would support me, but they don't. And the Khalifa, the story I'm trying to tell is that something along the lines of the Khalifa doesn't push people to do things. He just suggests and lets them try. And if they go with it, they go with it. And he tries to softly guide people in different directions. But it's not like, so I'm trying to give a realistic picture of how the Khalifa operates. It's not like you do it, otherwise you're wrong, and something like this. Like everybody's messing up all the time, and then he's like, "Oh, why did he mess up again?" Don't do it again. That kind of thing. And yeah, there's a lot of that going on. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I think actually I think that sort of attitude can encourage a lot of creativity, and then at the same time it can avoid. I don't know how to put. I think it encourages creativity if you let people kind of go off and do some of this stuff, but then at the same time, it allows them to keep a hold on the organization by being able to say, well, this is actually part of our organization and this actually isn't. I could see a value in doing that like that. I
Yeah,
would. I like things where people have to be creative, but I can see everyone sitting around worrying, thinking, "Oh, my, okay, is he going to say something really bizarre out there, running
yeah,
around speaker's corner and
yeah,
embarrass us and start an argument with these people, and then it's not going to be much love feeling towards us and all this." I mean, I can see everybody's paranoia,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I like a little bit of innovation. Yeah, I like innovation and people thinking along those lines. Hmm.
Yeah, and there's all the people who really hate innovation because that's their nature as well. And so you kind of, I have to appreciate that as well. Like, I have to go, yeah, I can see they're just wetting their pants. What am I going to say next, sort of thing. Like literally, for me, the things I'm saying right now, there's loads of Ahmadi Muslims like, no, why are you saying that? Stop talking right now, because they're just like they think everything has to be guarded and careful and whatever, and just how they operate and that's how they think. But anyway, so that's a lot of technical stuff. I mean, I one of the things I really like is the food thing. People are really impressed by. So a lot of the mosques you can go in and there's free food every day, and this is something started all the way from the who I refer to as a promised Messiah, as a version or way of saying second coming of Jesus, right? Yeah. So he had this thing. Even when he was very poor, he would say, "Anybody who comes to visit me, they'll get free food and things like that." It's not like I'll bribe you with food. It's just like hospitality. Um, and that's kind of been extended all over the world. So it's just one of those things, and it's run by all sorts of volunteers. And then you see all sorts of pictures where guests who come to the mosque who are not Muslim, whatever, and they're like, "This food is good." You see a lot of thumbs up. Hopefully, shall we do some of the pictures? What do you think?
Oh
Or
yeah, yeah, sure.
yeah, let's just whiz through some of the pictures. I think I've zoomed in quite a lot. Let me zoom out. Oh, there you go. Here's your first thumbs up. This is at the largest mosque. He's a friend from Speaker's Corner. This one. This is my local postman. He came along this for, and this is an event called the Big Iftar. You know, like in Ramadan, you have an iftar, and we invite all sorts of people from the public just to
You
enjoy.
can you can you can tell, like, I mean, it's okay to tell what iftar is in case someone's not even Muslim watching this. Maybe they
Yeah.
don't know
So
iftar.
yeah, so when you're in there's a month called Ramadan, which is 30 days of fasting every year that Muslims do, and they don't fast the whole day. They fast from sunrise to sunset, so they don't eat or drink in the middle of the day during the day, but before sunrise, in the morning they eat something, in the evening they eat something. And so in the evening is called the iftar, and we kind of publicize this event on the internet called a big iftar, which basically just means come and eat with us in the evening. You don't have to fast or anything. Just eat with us. You just eat together, and there's loads of other things that happen at the same time. So this is a huge mosque, and it's beautiful mosque, and maybe you see some pictures. And I stopped halfway. I just realized. But anyway, I looked at the thumbs up that I mentioned. That's why. But anyway, they always love the food, always cooked by volunteers and a few kind of paid staff who are kind of central. And there's a ton of organizations. Any picture I look, I can see a ton of organization. Like there's these um, things around their necks where they've got cards made as guests, right? And that reminds me of another story. Like when I was at Speaker's Corner, there's always rumors, and they're not actually wrong, actually, about Ahmadi Muslims. And one person came up to me because they realized I was, quite famous there now. Infamous, famous, I'm not sure which word to use, but So they go,
It's
oh,
that Amity guy.
exactly, yeah. And then they're
The
like,
Amity guy over there with his microphone. There he
yeah,
is.
exactly.
Yeah,
They begin
yeah.
to find some people find it annoying, and some people are genuinely intrigued, and they go, "Oh, we've heard." The one person came to me because we've heard that all Ahmadi Muslims have a special number, and I thought about it and said, "Oh, that's kind of true," and I've got used to it. So I'll just show it to you. One second. Ugh. So we all have an ID card, which started actually. My dad was kind of one of the early people responsible for setting up the database when it was really tiny in the 1980s. And let's see, there we go. That's my number 29129. I think it's in reverse or something. It's my picture and whatever. And it's all kind of run by volunteers. And it used to be really rubbish when it started. And now it's got QR codes and it's wireless or something. I don't know what it is, right?
So nobody else in the world has the same number.
No, exactly. Yes, unique. Yeah, I believe
Well,
it's
you have a
unique.
directory of all the Ahmadis.
Yes, that's true as well. So we're like, if you move from one country to the other, you have to tell, and then you're added from one group to the other. The one list to another
Okay.
list. If even if you move to from one house to the other house in a vicinity, like one street, you'll be in a local. Like in only about 10 streets is called Wandsworth. The next following few streets are called Wandsworth Town. The next few streets are called Ersfield. Just to talk about my local vicinity. Um, We've all got like these
Just you
subgroups.
guys. Just you guys have the names for these little streets.
Oh, sorry. So Wandsworth is actually a name for the actual area in London,
Oh,
sort of
okay.
thing. But it's
Okay.
kind of cut in like even like there's no area as small as how we've cut it into, sort of thing. But we kind of roughly adopt the local area name. So, or maybe it'll be named after a few streets or a big street in the area or
Okay.
something. Yeah. Let me try to get to the top. Yeah, I'm not very good at pausing, and you have some. So this is going to be in reverse order. So I showed you this picture. This is an IEEE meeting, engineering meeting. It was a little bit boring as well because I wasn't actively involved in it. It's a lot more fun when you get involved. Like I've been to Gambia, for example, when I was helping one of my brothers. He's doing a sort of engineering project where he made something called a desert fridge. So basically, in Gambia, they were wasting tons of tomatoes. Because they don't have electricity for fridges. So he basically he researched it on the internet and he found this thing that wasn't very well used. There's just two clay pots inside each other, put a bit of water, and then you prolong the life of the tomatoes by like 30 days. And that saved tons of money for whatever reason. So
Is that
when
the
you're,
one where you put you have a pot
yep,
and you have a smaller pot and then you have wet sand around it?
a tiny bit of water and a wet cloth on top, and it
Wet cloth. Uh-huh.
yeah, somehow, and then it has a massive amount of like there's all sorts of technical reasons why loads of tomatoes are wasted. It's something to do with like when the tomatoes are harvested, they have to be sold in a rush, and because they're sold in a rush, the farmers get a really bad price. But if you can delay it or spread it over 30 days, they can get a better price. So it helped them in that small way. So he was going around, I helped them out. When you're actually, my point is, when you're involved in something, rather than just seeing numbers and stuff, is completely different. So I had a vague appreciation of it because I've been involved in. As an Ahmadi Muslim, you don't just stay in one department. You just keep changing departments. You move countries and help out in different ways. So you have all sorts of interesting experiences. So this guy is from Ghana. He's responsible for. This is from the same event. Um, so he is responsible for making a new Ahmadiyya city. We already have a peace city in, I think, both in the US, in Maryland, I think, and also one in Canada. I can't remember. Is Maryland in America? I'm sure it is, right?
Maryland. Yeah. What is a peak city?
Peace City. Basically, we made a whole city with hundreds of houses where only Ahmadi Muslims live. We've got a mosque in the middle and things
Oh,
like that. So they're
a
going to
housing
make.
community,
Sorry.
like a housing community
Yeah,
association. Okay.
yeah. And so he is from Ghana in West Africa, and he's going to make a peace city in Ghana. And I want to move to Ghana, even though I don't have the money. But I took his number, and this guy's like, "I want to do it. I want to be there." Okay, why do I like Ghana so much? Because it's a another very important story. My granddad kind of dedicated a few years of his life before he died. Um, but he was sent to Ghana from India to start the first Ahmadiyya school there. It's pretty one of the first schools in Africa, Ahmadiyya school. And why do they bother doing that? Is because at that time, the Christians used to have schools. You had to change your name to a Christian name. And this was the first school where you didn't have to change your religion, didn't have to change your name, but and it became an incredibly successful school. The president, some presidents, and the foreign ministers, and all sorts of very important people ended up going to those schools. And there's lots of crazy stories I could tell you about it, but it would take too long. Like, for example, the school was made in the middle of nowhere, and my parents had to live in my grandparents used to have to live in a hut, and then the first pupils would sleep on the floor of their hut, and including like the foreign minister, for future foreign minister would call my grandmother Amma or something like that. Lots of crazy stories, like that, but that's how these things happen. I know this guy, he's in charge of IAAE in terms of especially water wells. So every few weeks, he's going to somewhere in Africa and making another water well. He's got a regular job. I think he makes the one of the train lines in London. And so, yeah, so that's, and this is, by the way, the location is the kind of mini Ahmadiyya city just outside London. Um, just to give you like a different end of the scale, this is like at our local level, like the local few streets. There's a barbecue, chicken
Mm.
tikka going on, and it's just like a local meeting. And it's not that we have to have barbecues, but you have different people elected, and each person has their own character. And that's our local current leader. His main two things, because it's just his personality, is food and finance, and everything else doesn't really work that well. Okay, and it annoys me because I'm a bit more academic and like, oh, we should be doing this, but I can see it helps. It gets people together and stuff like that. And I could tell another 100 stories. Like, as I say, like, we're all very different, have different perspectives, but somehow we get together and live together and work together. And so the men are making the food, and they'll give it to the ladies afterwards. Men generally have to do, let's say, the heavy lifting, and like, especially some of our events got 40,000 people or something, and the men will cook for 40,000 people, and it's very heavy work. It's like literally, like, an oar for swimming, like they have those kind of spoons, and the hundreds of pots being cooked day and night, so very heavy kind of stuff. And the women sort of like say, you go tell the men, you do that, go there, and that's our plan, because they've got their own organization. But it's kind of, yeah. So I mean, do you have any questions about that at the moment?
No,
Yeah.
looks tasty. That
Yeah.
guy looks kind of nice in the center.
Yeah, he's wearing
Barbecue
Pakistani
guy.
clothes. Yeah.
No, the Pakistan. I don't know if he's Pakistani, but he looks like he's Mr. Barbecue right there. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
um He is definitely Mr. Barbecue. His barbecue is sitting in our house, in our garden, for a few months after a previous event where we did it. So this is just for local Ahmadi Muslims in a tiny meeting. But before that, like, we had an event where we did it for hundreds of people. No, 150 guests, or like we had a queen's, I think, coronation, like when she was alive. And then we had these things in England. We have street parties, which is very rare. Like, it's the opposite of how British people are. Like, British people don't make eye contact or smile at each other, but they love to. They actually want to talk to each other, but their culture doesn't let them. Right. But as soon as we have these street parties, loads of people want the street parties, and so. But it's hard to organize the street parties because, like, who's going to, you know, do things for each other. So the Ahmadi Muslims, we have this thing that up and down the country we organize street parties. He's one of the people who does it. So just to give a kind of like a two sides of it, like, some people just don't like talking. I do a lot of talking, but when I try to do the barbecue, I burn every single one of them, right? And then, but he won't talk at all. Well, that's not fair, but I'm kind of being extreme here. Um, but he's really good at the barbecue stuff, and there's like what I mean to say is this.
Different, different little talents come together to make
That's
the whole
right.
thing gel. Yes,
That's
yes.
right. Yeah, exactly. So this little picture is another thing. This is the play area behind our house, and half the kids are Ahmadi Muslim, and then there's a little African family of 5 kids. Um, what I'm trying to say here is, I think it's kind of like outside the community, there's still the community. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't have to wait for the meetings or something like that. It Yeah, I suppose that's what I wanted to say in that picture. Really, it's kind of, it doesn't end. It's not like this. Just everything happens in the meeting. These camera pictures are terrible. I'm not even sure you can see it all. This is back in this is back in the Ahmadiyya city, but like another event. We're just showing a friend around from Speaker's Corner. He's a Muslim, but he's not. He's an Irish convert, but he's not an Ahmadi Muslim. And this is my cousin, my wife's cousin, and this is one of my nephews. And these kids had come down for like they were having like a football competition between lots of local Ahmadi Muslim groups. So remember the Atfal thing, the young boys under 15. So all the like different groups from the whole, let's say a region or something, they were all having a competition. Then they were meeting up at this
Were they having
Ahmadiyya city.
soccer?
Sorry,
Soccer competition?
soccer. That's it. Yeah, that's the word.
Cricket? No, soccer, huh?
Soccer, yeah. I call it
Mhm.
football, but yeah, but not
Yeah, okay.
American football. It's the one where you kick with your feet. Yeah. And so this is like a little tuck shop that the Khuddam, which is young men, organized, and we're just sitting down having an ice cream and talking to
Cock shop?
tuck shop. Oh, tuck shop. That's a British thing, I think. It basically means a tiny little shop, a very tiny shop, selling a few things, like a few ice creams and packets
Oh,
of crisps and things.
okay.
And they made a little corner. And for example, for some reason, they decided that was a good thing to do. So that's another thing. There's loads of things that I find like, because I'm definitely overly academic, I think, and I just think about ideas, and I find some things like, oh, why would you do that, and why you and but there are people with different personalities. So like we have an international, let's say, soccer World Cup that everybody comes from around the world, and for me it's like, what, why would you literally come from Australia to
Oh,
play
you
in
just don't understand soccer. You're
so
one of those. You don't have an appreciation of soccer.
It's I don't, because when I was a kid, my idea of playing soccer would be I was eating my food in the playtime, and I would just get in the way, and that was my idea of football. So I definitely don't appreciate soccer, football.
People like soccer.
Yeah,
Here, they
yeah.
put it on. You put it on. Maybe they don't have it so much in America, but they got that South American soccer, right? So people are watching it, and the ball gets kicked, goes in the plate. Everyone's screaming "pelota," but that's Spanish. So you could turn the sound down. I don't understand why can't the guys turn the sound down? Why do I have to hear people yelling in Spanish? Nobody speaks Spanish in the room, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not all into soccer, but you can see I've had to suffer through days of soccer. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So literally we had this international world soccer football cup, whatever you want to call it, where people came all the way from Australia and different parts of the world, Canada, America, to play in this competition where nobody cared. You're definitely not going to make any money. Actually, definitely people care, the people playing football, because they're more serious than I was.
Is
I
this
just
just
didn't care.
Ahmadiyya?
In the Ahmadiyya, so just Ahmadi
Just
Muslims,
Ahmadiyya.
we
Okay.
organized our own World Cup, okay, which has
Mhm.
happened for the first time this year. And then and before that, a few years before, they'd started a cricket World Cup, which happens every year. And like what I'm trying to say is things start and then they continue forever. And then for me, it was like, at first I was thinking, this is so silly. Why would you come all the way from Australia to go to London just to play football? And then when I got to sit with some of those people, these young men, it was like I understood it. What it was is that they're not all that religious. And what it got them to do is stay with a bunch of other guys and be part of a community, do some good things, appreciate praying and eating together. Like the reason why I met them, because I had to, we get phone calls and messages and saying your local area's job is to serve food to these guys today, sort of thing. We just get a message, and so I'm there and I'm serving food, and then they actually seen my YouTube channel, so we just got a bit talking about that and stuff like that. So um and then they told me, like you hear about each other's experiences and how they found it, and so there's all sorts of benefits. And my point is that sometimes I have opinions and people have different opinions on how things should be, and then yeah, it's
Soccer,
long, isn't it? It's
soccer's I think soccer is a really great game because you can be horrible and still play it, or really good and play it. It's not like
yeah, you just need to be able to swing your legs.
I mean, you can have fun. It's like baseball. You can have fun playing baseball even if you're not good at it, or if you're really good at it, you can have fun with it. And soccer's
Yeah,
like that, and everybody can do it. And all you need is the ball.
that's true. That's true. It's not
Yeah,
like tennis or something where
yeah.
you need a really flat ground. It's really expensive, and you need the rackets. And even I used to play tennis. Very difficult to swing the racket properly, to get it. Yeah. So I'm going to try to whiz through this again. This is the food area. There's a tent where lots of free food is there. Loads of people eating together. I think for me the value of it is just eating together, like a whole community every day you can just eat together. It's a beautiful thing rather than just eating in your own house. Let's forget that, it's the same.
I would assume this eating together thing would keep older people from being as isolated and lonely, huh?
Yes, that's right, that's true. I
Mhm.
mean, we do try to, I mean, families themselves should be taking care of the older people in the families. That's a basic responsibility, but that helps as well. That helps as well.
Well, you see a lot
um
of people, and it's not like, yeah, I think it would be nice. Yeah, it seems nice.
Yeah, it's very important and it is nice. I mean, there's values in different ages in the community, like everybody brings something different. The
Mhm.
older, if you don't have the older people, you strip yourself of, I don't know, some level of wisdom and calmness and things like that. There's something everybody brings. This is a speaker's corner. And why am I taking a picture of this? Maybe because I've brought this 13-year-old along. So one of my jobs in local communities, like I'm a teacher, I just teach a few basic things about Islam. And then he was asking a lot of questions, and his dad said, take my number, and go with him to speaker's corner and see what happens, sort of thing. And he did some videos which were very popular. If you want to go on my channel, just search 13-year-old or 13YO, and you'll see some interesting videos about what he got
And
up
is
to.
that the Irish guy going
Oh
up?
yes, that's you reckon. My pictures are not that bad. So yes, it's him
Oh,
again.
that's the
Yeah,
Irish guy. All
yeah.
right.
So
And who's this one? Who's the
this guy, and this is my cousin-in-law again, my
okay?
wife's cousin. Yeah, so we go out a lot doing different things. He
Mhm.
he likes he likes going out a lot. I don't, but I just tag along, and I benefit from stop being a nerd for a bit. And then this is another Ahmadi, and we're having a little meeting. It's the idea is that we work together a lot, is in whichever capacity we can at Speaker's Corner, just eating together and things like this. Is a men's over 40 event. And what's special about this picture is, again, we're in a park and we organize tons of food, like all these little packed lunches with lots of rice and really good food, let's just say, and eating together, and people from different ages. So I'm 40, I'm on the bottom, I'm 42 actually, I'm on the bottom end of and then you got people who are like 80 and much older, I don't know. And then we're praying together all at the mosque right in the middle of, and in London, I don't think anybody cares what we do, but I think they find it intriguing, probably. But yeah, it's just part of the communal thing. When you pray together, there's something beautiful about it, I think. Yeah. Spiritual connection and doing something simple as praying together. This is so this guy, he's agnostic. He's very anti-Islam. But he's joining our event. Um, if Claire saw this, because Claire had the opportunity to talk to him at Speaker's Corner the other day, I introduced him, and they started a fight straight away in 1 second.
Right.
Yeah, like he was like straight away insulting her or something, and like he's like, "You don't know anything, whatever." And I just introduced them, like, "Here's my friend, here's another of my friend," and like, straight away in 1 second. But the point is, like, even though he might insult me a lot, and I probably insult him in many ways, because I always say atheists are depressed and things like that, and whatever in our videos. We make a lot of videos together. We have coffee together all the time. We go for lunch, dinners all the time, and things like that. And he's come to this event. He's not an Ahmadi Muslim, but I say just come along, try it out. He lives in the local area, but he's also a friend from Speaker's Corner. So just another little story there. And he enjoyed it. You know, he was playing football with us. This is a local meeting. This is the men's kind of meeting. The ladies had their own meeting. Just sit around. We hire a hall. So we the spaces in our mosques, we can't go to all the mosques all the time because we don't have enough mosques, even though we keep building new mosques, and we have this first mosque and the oldest mosque and the biggest mosque and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, we still don't have enough space, so we hire a place in our local vicinity. And how do we hire it? Because even despite we're really not well off, but we seem to raise thousands of pounds just because we regularly donate without thinking. It's kind of just a normal process. We've got systems for it all. And so yeah, just a local meeting.
We had
uh,
a we have a had a tradition in the United States way
yeah,
back. I don't know if you guys call Cracker Barrel. Like people would talk around Cracker Barrels in the old stores out in the West, like guys would, like, "Oh yeah, how you doing?" They'd talk around when they go buy supplies, and they're talking around these Cracker Barrels.
I don't know, I thought a cracker was an insult, but I
What?
just
Oh yeah, that's an insult too, a cracker.
yeah,
Yeah, but I'm saying, but there was actually barrels full of crackers and
crackers.
pickles and
Okay,
pickles too. So they would stand around there talking in the supply store and then take their stuff and go back
where's a
to
cracker? Like I know a Chinese cracker. I don't know what a cracker
kind of
is.
like it's crunchy. It's
Biscuit kind of, not a biscuit,
no
like it.
biscuits are like cookies. A
Yeah,
cracker is like
I'll Google it. Cracker
kind of
Barrel.
like a kind of lavish bread that got toasty. Maybe
Oh, okay,
it's like
okay.
a little crunchy thing.
I
And
think
so,
yeah, we've got a name for that. I can't remember what it's called. There's a fancy name for it, but anyway, yeah,
anyway, this Unitarian church had a group of men, a men's group
yeah,
that used to meet, and they used to call it Cracker Barrel. And
okay.
so they got up in front, and everyone's describing their little groups. And he said, "Yeah, we have Cracker Barrel for the men." And he said, like, how many years had been going on. And he said, all those years, we've never made one resolution. They've never done anything except
Uh,
gone in there and talking and having
I was
fun.
just chatting away. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was funny. It was funny, though, the way you said it.
To be
But
honest, a lot of these meetings depends on who's running it and who's in charge or who's been elected, basically. Sometimes it's just talk, talking about, as I said, right now, all we do is food and finance, but it should be other stuff. So it just gets over. Okay, um this is an event for hundreds of people in the local area in our very tiny mosque. We've got a tent there as well, a marquee, let's say, and lots of your. We had a coronation party, so we had lots of coronation parties, and this one we're just serving food up because it's a slightly bigger one. Um, than our local one. This is our local one, which you can't see. There's loads of people surrounding the tables and a couple of tables in our few streets. So we were totally in charge of it. But this one, the same team was helping in a slightly bigger event where what's special about it? So coronation, for people who don't know, actually I always forget what that even means. Like I think when the Queen turned 90 before she died or something. I can't remember what it means. Or no, she was a queen for I don't know how many years. I don't know what coronation even means, right? I just know that when it happened, there was street parties. Street parties mean officially you could close down a street or whatever, and loads of people are having communal parties, which never happens in England because, as I say, nobody likes to make eye contact normally. But this guy basically got loads and loads of 100 people together, eat together. It's all free for the people who turn up. The Ahmadi Muslims pay out of their own pockets, but we do it easily because somehow, yeah, just by raising, we're always donating regularly without thinking, so it adds up. So that's that story. But it's a lot of fun as well. It's like it's not just sacrifice. It's kind of like it's really enjoyable to make these things that just wouldn't happen otherwise, and people remember it forever. They really do. For like we had a coronation party. No, this is not called a coronation party. Actually, it is called a coronation party. Coronation. I'm mixing up Jubilee. Sorry, Jubilee and Coronation. Coronation is when the king became the king, King Charles. I'm mixing it all up. Sorry. But anyway, all these royal kind of parties things. The royals say party time, king, country, and then everybody has a party. Um, this is the new extension of the biggest mosque in London, and down there is our old friend, Irish convert,
Oh,
the
there he
post.
is. All right.
Yeah. And then, oh, this is a bit interesting. I don't know if you can see. And this is very typical of our friends from Speaker's Corner. Like she's a Christian with a massive cross. Okay. But nobody batted an eyelid. Nobody cares. Let me zoom in maybe if we can. Let me see. Because very like, can you see that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but like nobody cares. Everybody's very relaxed. Ahmadi Muslims are the most relaxed. Like we're known for being relaxed. Like um when I go to Speaker's Corner, I'll be like, "Oh, we should be nice to everybody." And like, "Are you Ahmadi Muslim? What's wrong with you?" Kind of thing, you know. Um, and so yeah, nobody reacts.
Okay, okay. Now, okay, she's got the giant cross T-shirt or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Understated, if I may say so. It's not brightly colored or flashing
Okay.
lights, but okay.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
What would push the limits? What would someone come in there doing that would push the limits for Ahmadiyya?
I think turn up drunk. It's not like they
Oh,
would get angry. It was just like for people's safety. Otherwise, like, okay, just stop ruining everything for you. That kind of thing.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah, food. We done that one. This is a family meeting with. I think I talked about this. Like we're friends outside just the official stuff that we're doing together, and this is the same family. Another event we met again. This is just to give an idea. Like this is one of the granddads, and he's in our local. Let me zoom out. So it's kind of like there's a yeah, as I say, the community that kind of keeps going without outside the official kind of stuff. So he's driving his 6 month year old at the time, not his 6 month year old, he's a granddad, and he goes around the block, and I just say hello and we talk and things like that. So yeah, it's just part of that. This is me meeting with Dust again. Dust is his kind of pseudo name. He's hiding behind there because I took the picture really badly. And this is another guy from my local area, and I think it's too much detail. This is the kind of story I was kind of talking about. When something bad happens, like somebody died, like people come around and help out, give food and give their support, and they just chill out with you and stuff like that. So it's not like official business all the time. We have loads of peace events where we're trying to get people from different background, different politicians, whatever. And Dust, my old friend, he's doing a speech here again. So he's basically my local area. So I see him a lot. I see him basically every Saturday morning. We have coffee together. And he turned up and he did a speech, and we just do just like a few speech. This is a church a hall next to one of the churches. We just hired it and get the local community, invite loads of people and stuff like that. And that's it, really.
And
There's a million other things I could tell you about. Like there's an event called the Jalsa where 50,000 people might turn up, and there's kids organizing different things, like the traffic. You'd be like 10 years old and directing all the 100 cars this way or that way and things like that. But yeah.
okay, where does your Khalifa live? Not his address. I mean, what
No,
country?
but you could basically, he lives in the Ahmadiyya city. I suppose just to make it fun. Let me see if I can.
In England?
Yes, just a
Oh,
little bit
England.
outside London at the
Now, what
moment.
about the national emir?
He can live anything where he wants, but he lives in London because it's more
Uh-huh.
convenient, because everything kind of around that, a lot of stuff happens around London because,
So is he sort
yeah.
of the Khalifa's vizier, kind of?
So every country has a national emir, every
Right.
country. Yeah, because like the Khalifa will give kind of directions. You should do this, you should do that, and then he has to kind of figure out how to do those things within those countries and things like that. And also, like our TV station is, viewed. You can watch it anytime. MTA. Let me see if I can share the whole tab. Oops. Let me see. Share the whole screen. Windows screen. This one. Share, so I can actually switch between tabs and stuff. So if I just go, so the reason why I'm talking about that is because a lot of the Khalifa's meetings and his directions, they're on TV. So he'll be having online meetings that um, everybody's watching, and the reason why everybody's watching it because they're also learning like what does a Khalifa think is a good idea, and they're also not just having meetings but they're asking questions. Let's just see what's on right now. Uh,
MTA TV is what's
yeah,
NTA.
MTA. Yeah, MTA. So Muslim Television Ahmadiyya. So if you just search MTA, and it's all in different languages. So if you search MTA English, you get the English version that translates.
Okay.
And it's basically mostly run by volunteers. Um, this is a Khalifa visiting somewhere. Some new mosque, it looks like. I think it's a new mosque. I recognize it, I think, in not too far from London. Everything's
No,
not.
this is one of those cities you guys built.
No, I don't think. Oh, not really. No, there's just a new mosque. A new mosque. I
Oh.
think in somewhere. I thought, yeah, Scunthorpe. That's what it is. Yeah, so
Mhm.
Scunthorpe, very small village outside.
And these hats, I'm seeing too many of these hats now.
Yeah, that's a good
I look
point.
like a fez. Well, okay, so I thought,
They're Indonesian style. They just
oh,
got
okay.
fashionable amongst it. They and you know how people copy everybody copy. But it's not just about copying. They're very convenient as well. It's like they fold up very nicely. And if you're nice and you don't want to stand out and you like black and you just like to blend in and look smart at the same time, so it works for most people, sort of thing. Um, so yeah. So yeah, and then we've got our own TV station that tons of people.
And then this guy here, he's wearing, is that an Afghani one he's wearing?
That's more like I'm not actually expert in my own country, but I think
Uh-huh.
it's called a Sindhi hat, like it's part of
Oh,
Pakistan.
India. Oh, okay, Cindy. Okay,
Sind, I think. Actually,
Sind.
I'm going to stop pretending to know what I'm talking about on that kind of frame, but it's Pakistani basically. Yeah.
Hmm.
So he's wearing an Indonesian hat. He's wearing a Pakistani hat, and so that's that. And so yeah, we've got like if you want to know what the Khalifa's been doing this week. Hazur means like the respected. So that's his sort of name for the Khalifa. So
Mm-hmm.
if you search this week with Hazur, you'll see what's happening this week. What he's been up to. Like a summary. Who's he been meeting, which delegates from which countries, and the advice he's been giving. So you can say, do you agree or not? What do you think? And how he has meetings and how they ask questions. It's not the whole thing. It's kind of like a summary. Um, and yeah, it might not be. It might be exciting, maybe not. Who knows? You can have a look. Yeah. Question. Any other questions? Any thoughts?
Well, I'm assuming this isn't some huge celibate community like Shakers, so I'm not seeing any one single woman anywhere. So,
Yeah.
what
Let's
is
look for a
what are
lady.
their projects? I'm curious what their projects are.
What do the ladies get up to? They get up to, okay, without thinking too hard, and it might be come out really badly. The first thing that comes to mind is they do have a lot of events where they sell stuff for some reason, like
Uh-huh.
bazaars. They set up bazaars, like they say, let's get together, everybody bring some food, we'll sell a bit of that, let's eat together, and we'll sell some clothes because you like some clothes, whatever. And some of the ladies are probably getting really annoyed with me right now because like that's not all we do. And then they've got a magazine. And because I'm not in like that involved with the ladies, that's probably why I'm going to do a really bad job at talking about this stuff. But that's kind of what I remember. Um, what else do they do? They do. They're also part of the IEEE, but you won't see them. That's a good point. You won't see them because the cameras won't show them unless you might hear their voices when they want to ask a question or something.
Oh, uh-huh.
There'll be a border in between,
Mm-hmm.
and there'll be
Hmm.
lots of screens. Over you can see everything that's going on. Um,
I wasn't asking from a feminist thing. I was just wondering what they do. I just,
no, it's fair enough. But a lot of people might. So let me
yeah.
just see if I can get picture of ladies. Um,
Well,
because
I believe there's women. I believe there's
it's nice to see though. I thought I could see something. Let me just click it and make it bigger screen because I thought I saw.
so their
Okay,
projects would
yeah,
be more
they're talking
local,
about the responsibility of the ladies. I think I watched this the other day. What they are there somewhere. I
but the
keep
women's
seeing.
projects tend to be more local. I would.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, they don't go out to places like Africa and drill the
Okay.
holes or whatever.
Yeah.
They because they're like the Khalifa's. So one of the ladies, I think, just because we often sit down and watch this. One of the ladies was asking like, can women go to work, for example? And they said, well, yeah, sure you can. And I'm the kind of guy who said, like, no, you shouldn't. It's a really bad idea because I'm a bit like hardcore. But the Khalifa's a bit more soft. And he says, like, yeah, you can, but make sure you take care of your responsibilities at home. And then he started going into a bit of detail. He said, like, for example, often women who he said you shouldn't do it like when your children come home, nobody's at home, and then you only see your mum at night time, and then your children are going to be scarred by that. They're going to feel like nobody cares about them, things like that.
Mhm.
So you kind of so ladies have different kind of questions, I find. you know and yeah, yeah. So I mean, I didn't really get much of a picture there, but they do exist. I'm sure you
Now,
believe
who's
me. But
this
this
is
is the
the
Khalifa. Oh my
oh
god,
that's the
after all this time, I didn't actually introduce him very well. He was on the thumbnail, but that's all. So he's just talking, and this is there you go. It's a bunch of ladies. And they're yeah, so they're all listening, and there's a camera. I mean, there's a screen there, and they can hear. And this is in some mosque in somewhere. I'm not sure where, somewhere around the world. So he has a lot of online meetings with different
mm-hmm,
groups.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know where this is. I could probably tell. What is it? This chapter says allowing women to have jobs. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah. I mean, I've been doing a lot of talking, but interrogate me. Ask me some questions and
Mm.
something that. Or I mean, do you feel like, oh, you've heard some stuff makes sense? You got an idea of how it works?
No, yeah, I was curious about it. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. So how many of you guys are in London? How many Ethnic are in London?
It's hard. I don't know. I really don't know. I heard this vague number in London. If I was trying to go by some sort of gut feeling, because you kind of meet a lot of people, and when you
Mhm.
go, oh, my gut feeling. See, the biggest mosque in London, the Ahmadiyya Mosque, can hold 10,000 people. That was before the extension. So let's just say 20,000 easily.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, probably
Okay. And so they when
easily.
they first came, they were coming from India.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep. Yeah. And to give you a sense of like when my dad came in 1954 or something, when
Mhm.
he was about 2, 3 years old, he came from Ghana, from my grandparents starting of school. We were in the first mosque, and this first mosque was there were such few people that they didn't have enough money to keep that tiny mosque, which is the size of my house. I mean, my house is tiny, by the way. um open during the winter because they didn't have enough money for like to warm it up or something. So things are massively changed, and they're always changing. Everything's continuously changing a lot. So yeah.
So how caught up do how caught up in this? I mean, it looks like Muslims and English people are kind of coming at odds at people, but the Ahmadiyya aren't involved in this, huh? Like people aren't particularly mad at Ahmadiyya, are they?
The only people mad at Ahmadiyya are like the people speakers corner or the people who like to debate, and they're basically Muslims who like to do that.
Right.
But generally, I would say, yeah. So I would say, and I give loads of examples that loads of people love Ahmadiyya. So I went to a synagogue not too long ago with one of my neighbors, and just to he's in one of those not orthodox, the opposite of the old orthodox revised. I can't remember what they called it, but anyway, I turned up and they were like, "Yeah." And then another guy knew I was. I mean, he knew I wasn't a Jew because I was not a regular part of the congregation. And he goes, "Oh, you're around with here? Yeah, yeah, I know you guys. You're really nice." Everybody knows. Even in Palestine, let's give you like, well, so you see lots of bad things happening in Palestine between the Jews and the Muslims and Christians, but the Ahmadi Muslims have no problem at all.
So they're
So
not your women. The women don't get harassed ever in the street or anything, or
no, not really, because they we only get harassed if they know you're an Ahmadi Muslim.
no. I mean,
Um,
just when they're going out, sometimes they
oh,
don't
you
get.
mean as a Muslim?
Yeah, they don't get screamed at like
No, I
going
don't
all
think
over.
so. I
Mhm.
don't think so. London is so multicultural.
Mhm.
It's. I remember I did a trip with my brother and one of my cousins through Europe, like one day a country starting from Greece, and Greece was incredibly racist. It's like I felt like I'd gone back like 100 years or something. Like we weren't even allowed to go on a ship because we were brown or something. It was ridiculous.
They don't
Um,
like Turks.
yeah, but I could understand their perspective because Greece at
But
that
they,
time,
if it's a Muslim, oh, it's somehow a Turk.
yeah, or something. But also, they were. It was really a really crazy time. I'm not sure if it's always crazy, but they were sort of the border of Europe. They were like the guards of Europe, and literally there were crazy immigrants on the fences like animals. It was really crazy, and I could hear gunfire every now and then. It was really crazy. So even though they treat us really badly, and my brother was really angry, my little brother, but I was like, yeah, just leave it alone. You don't want to get shot. Just relax, enjoy the holiday. Anyway, we ended up going to Venice, which is cool compared to going to Rome. So we missed our ship. We went to there. So my point is that as we got closer and closer, by the time we got back to London, it was flipped. It was like everywhere else, we were the minority. In London, we're kind of like brown people, and everybody else except for white people were like London. You're the immigrants are the majority, sort of thing.
Well, I remember I went to London a couple times, and I remember I went down to oh gosh, I think it was a Tower of London or whatever. It's over there by the bridge or by the
Yeah.
Thames, and there's a McDonald's there. So I went in there to go get a drink, and then it had like the every McDonald's has the ethnic food, the chosen ethnic food that they have on their menu, and it wasn't fish; it was sambusas. And I was
Oh,
like,
really?
"Oh my god, is they're selling sambusas in McDonald's?" I was
That's
like, "Oh,
interesting.
I
Yeah. I
thought
mean,
that was kind of
I
funny."
didn't know they did that. I've never
Yeah,
seen that.
they have a like a I don't want to say I don't know if it's like an ethnic food, but they'll have
Maybe it was
something
that week or something. Something was
I
going
yeah,
on.
I don't know. I don't know, but they have it. They'll have something that's sort of ethnic for there, and I think they had the same thing in Germany. Something, I think they had sauerkraut on something
Okay,
in
I know that
Germany.
McDonald's are very good at cooking or making food for their particular countries. Like if you go to Middle East, you get macarabia or something,
What's
whatever.
that?
It's
McLuhan?
no, it's nothing that exciting. It's just like a flatbread, and they
Yeah,
put a
yeah. They'll
burger
put
in it,
stuff on there. They put something on there. Yeah,
and a
and they
nice, yeah. It's just yeah. Um,
But I was just kind of surprised. I was like, oh, Sambusas. I
Yeah.
never thought there were Muslims. And there were a lot of
I mean,
Muslims.
Muslims are kind of taking over everything around here.
Mhm.
We're like 4-5% of the population, having 10% of the children, and if everybody else is basically not having children, I'm probably not exaggerating. Like in my few streets, there's only one white baby, and the rest are brown and black. Basically, I'm probably
Mhm.
exaggerating a little bit, but basically it's like that. So look at the rate. It's like 10-1. What are you gonna do? It makes me laugh. What was that? I'll stop screen
Is
sharing
it the
again.
Irish guy's kid?
The Irish guy, he's got one kid who's 30. He's
Yeah,
60
sure.
something. He just he just retired. So yeah. It's about 65-ish. I probably shouldn't say his age on YouTube. I don't know. Anyway, um, yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question because I can't remember it. Yeah.
No, it was okay. So what do you they don't let you guys go on Hajj, right? You can't go on Hajj.
Yeah. So officially, we're not allowed, but where we okay, so we just categorize. We just say we're Sunni Muslims, which is true. Sunni just means somebody who follows you know this, but for everybody else, like who follows a practice of
Mhm.
Prophet Muhammad. That's what it really means. So yeah, we're that. Sure, we'll go along. So
Oh,
I
so they'll go. So there's
uh,
no you don't have an order from your caliph. Uh,
to show that we're Ahmadi.
n-
No.
no, I mean I'm trying to think how
But the
the average
Caliph has never been because he would be recognized and they won't let him in.
they would know who he is.
Yeah,
Okay, so you guys just go and and they let you get the visas because your names all sound Muslim, right?
yeah,
Pretty much that's what. So
yeah.
that's how.
I've been for the Umrah when I was 10. My I had family there and we yeah.
So
Anyway,
you're expected to go. You guys are expected to go if you can.
yeah, yeah. But I probably should go again because I did the Umrah, which is the small Hajj. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway,
I knew there was a Sufi sheikh. I don't want to
yeah.
say which one because I don't want to start, World War II on the internet. Or
Okay.
World War III, I guess. World War
Oh yeah,
III.
yeah.
He had said, I think he had said the women did not need to go on Hajj at
Okay.
this time anymore because of all the squashing, all the men and women.
Possibly, maybe it makes sense. Like
Yeah, he was one that said that. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I didn't know if you guys had something like that because of this.
I've never heard that. And it's not too hard to go, and families usually go together. So it doesn't make sense in that sense nowadays, but maybe in the past when it was incredibly difficult, like when you had to walk there or go by camel,
It's
possibly.
really crowded. That's awfully
Oh
crowded.
yeah, it's true. It is very crowded. I went when it's Umrah, and my family, I had family there, and they probably knew the right time to go when it's quieter or something. I don't know. So
Hmm.
maybe I just remember having a lot of fun when I was 10 years old. It was really funny. Like there was a green light between the two hillocks, Safa and Marwa, and my cousin would say, "Run!" And then that's what I remember, like running. That's what I remember. It was a big joke. So yeah, I wasn't very spiritual at the time, but it was a great experience. Yeah.
Hmm. Did you go as an adult too?
No, I should. I should. So I'm moving to the Middle East, so maybe, and it will be next to door to Saudi Arabia, so maybe I'll give it a shot.
You're going to
I'm
next
I'm
next.
gonna move house. I'm moving from London to Jordan. I used to live there for a few years. Now I'm moving there again. So I'm going in August. So, but hopefully we'll carry on the YouTube videos and things like that, but not Speaker's Corner. No.
And your wife said that was okay.
She's the one who wanted to go.
Oh, okay.
So okay,
You
she's
don't have to say
Jordanian.
personal things if you don't want
That's okay.
to.
I don't know. I'm a bit too relaxed. My wife's Jordanian,
Uh-huh.
and so
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
she
my
wants to
my
live straight
family
at
is
home again.
basically here. Yeah.
Okay, so
But
she
I
wants
really
to.
like it there. I really enjoy there. I like the down to earth, very simple lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. So
And
you want.
there's an Ahmadi Muslim community there. They're all converts. Like I remember like asking who's a convert, who's not a convert. Like everybody's a convert there, which is interesting. It's
Where are they
different.
from?
They are Palestinian mainly or Jordanian. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, most of Jordan's from Palestine anyway, because they kind of got thrown out. And interestingly, some of them were, just to give the sort of story I said, like I briefly mentioned how Ahmadi Muslims don't have a problem in Palestine, um, because so like even like one of the, I think the Emir of Jordan was, hopefully I'm not getting it all mixed up, but like he was in prison because he was before he became an Ahmadi Muslim, and he was like, we want freedom, we want to fight, like a lot of Palestinians are thrown into prison. And then he learned about Ahmadi Islam, and we Ahmadi Muslims, and basically we're very kind of, we don't fight, we don't fight against the government, we don't throw stones at anybody, we just move. We're like, okay, go to Israel, go to Jordan, just get out, right? And then the Quran, I talked about this in Speaker's Corner. The Quran says, if you move for the sake of God, God will make everywhere plentiful for you. Okay, and you might say, oh, you're giving up to the Zionists and stuff like
Those
that.
who leave for the sake of Allah will find themselves many at refuge, I think is what it says. Yeah.
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 So yeah,
So you
stuff like
consider
that.
this moving, you guys consider this kind of moving as leaving for the cause of Allah, right?
Yeah, and things just work out in the long term. We're a very long term view.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to fight, and that's a special thing that we're often criticized for, but it's part of a prophecy. So one of the prophecies of, I think, the Imam Mahdi, who we follow, um, Imam Mahdi, second coming of Jesus, all in one sort of thing, is that the prophecy that he would end the jizya, which is basically a way we interpret as ending physical wars. And we're saying now is the time for war of the pen, not physical wars. And so people might dispute that and whatever, but we're very, very peaceful, and we're growing everywhere, and we're loved by the Jews in Israel. We have loads of events. I might as well just show you, because everything's on YouTube. So let me just say, maybe if I let's see if I can get this Jalsa. Jalsa is kind of some of our events. Israel. Let's see what happens if we get lucky. And you can see lots of Jews. Probably no, no, no. Okay, Ahmadi. Let me just search Ahmadi. I can't even see each one. Ahmadi, Muslim, Israel, something like that. Yeah, there's lots of different reports, but maybe this one, like we're in the news as well a lot. We're famous, like even in London when I was in at Wimbledon station, not like a station, train station I should say, and there were two people, including a Jew, giving out anti-Islam kind of leaflets. And then we were talking, and I said that's not very nice, kind of thing. And then I mentioned I was an Ahmadi Muslim. He said, "Oh, you're an Ahmadi Muslim. We love Ahmadi Muslims." This Jewish guy, because like we're known really well everywhere. So this is like as kind of normal for us. We have events where you've got all sorts of people, Jews and Muslims, whatever, in an open air cinema because the weather's much nicer there. Um, some sort of event, I don't know, getting people together basically. It's called Ahmadiyya Summit in the Holy Land, this particular video, and it's on some news, I-24 news or something. I don't know.
So do you
Stuff
get
like that.
criticism? Do you get criticism from other Palestinians for getting along with Jews, or like what's the
I don't, probably, I don't know enough, but I know that when I was in Jordan, it's like even if they're living comfortably in Jordan, it's a thing you have to hold on to, your hate for Israel. So you just talk. I was in the school, and I'm just like, um, I was like, one teacher asked another student, "What do you think about Israel?" And said, "I will kill them," or something like that. That's how they're brought up. Like they have to think that, or something. And we don't agree with that way of thinking. It's like leave people alone. Let God take care of things.
your approach to war? Okay, let's say there's a war between two peoples.
Yeah.
Your approach to war would be to help people leave the area. I guess.
We're not actually pacifists. Okay,
Uh,
so I'll tell you like an opposite side of the story. So in Pakistan, people will be really surprised. Most of Pakistan was led by Ahmadi Muslims, like the first foreign minister. There's a lot of history behind the making of Pakistan, led by Ahmadi Muslims, and a lot of the top generals, the army generals, were Ahmadi Muslims,
oh, interesting.
and
Okay.
yeah, and so if we're told we have to support our country, whatever. So if the country says do something, do the best. We had the first what's it called? Nobel Prize winner, also from Pakistan. First Muslim Nobel Prize winner was an Ahmadi Muslim. Um, and he wanted to donate all his prize money to Pakistan, but they refused because he was an Ahmadi Muslim. So he made a institute in Italy instead. Things like that.
Okay, so you guys will do military service.
Yeah, we'll do whatever it takes to help the country. So even if the
Okay,
country,
which
like,
country? England. So if it's England right now, you guys would go in the military for England.
I suppose I would hate it because I know what they're up to, but yeah.
Oh well, we're not looking at that. We're
Yeah,
not looking at that part right now.
yeah,
Okay, so it's for defensive country is okay.
yeah. We have to, which we're
Defense of your
expect.
home. If somebody breaks in, you can
Yeah,
quickly get
we
them out the door. Yeah.
that's
Okay.
right. We're not pacifists in that sense,
Okay.
but we avoid war. We avoid religious war. Let's say that's the thing because that's what's stopped at the moment. Is yeah, yeah, very peaceful. I
And
mean,
so
you've heard of the phrase "love for all and hatred for none." Have I said
yeah,
that
yeah,
before?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think you have it on bottom of your emails.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's sort of thing. Like even there was, I think there was a time when all the Ahmadi Muslims were saying, "Put a little thing on the bottom of your emails," when emails were a relatively new thing. So
So
that's been there for about 15
you
years.
guys. Oh, I'm sorry.
So no, go on.
No, so you guys don't have anything where you're telling everybody they can't vote, they can't join in government, or
Oh, we
this kind.
have people increasingly in government.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh
more and
huh.
more. I mean, yeah, all sorts of people.
And
Yeah,
so is your uh where your mom's family was from? The
Pakistan.
grandparents were from Ghana. You're from Pakistan. Where
Yeah.
were you born?
Sorry,
Where were you born? England.
England. Yeah,
You were born in England. Okay,
yeah.
I'm
I
trying
don't
to.
really feel Pakistani.
Yeah. So your
Yeah.
dad's from Pakistan.
Kind of. Like his parents moved out of Pakistan before there was a Pakistan. Because
Oh,
I
okay.
think so. I think so. Was it? Yeah, I think so. Because they were in Ghana, West Africa for a while, maybe for 10 years, maybe, or something. And then my dad left Ghana, West Africa in 1954 to come to England.
And he was how old? Like,
Two or
oh,
three.
he was a little baby, and he was a little kid.
Yeah,
Little kid. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So you're pretty much a. Uh,
British.
you're pretty much British going to Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got bored of England. I know it's not that I got bored of England. Yes, I did. That's true as well. Um, yeah.
You like a little bit of
It's
change. You seem like
yeah, I
you like
do.
books a
I
lot.
do.
You like books a lot, and you like ideas, and you like to see. You actually like to see and experience what's going on around, as opposed to just having the book experience. But you also like to see it. Are you kind of like that?
Yeah,
I mean, you're
yeah,
running around
I hope
Speaker's
so.
Corner.
Sorry?
You are running around Speaker's Corner. I mean, you could sit around just watch videos about Speaker's.
Yes, I could. Yeah. I mean, the way, okay. Uh, I don't know how true this is, but this is how I say it, sort of thing, in a weird and this might sound really strange. I think I'm an
Yeah, I
introvert,
was thinking that you do seem a little bit like an introverted personality, but for some reason you
but I
come out
do
in the.
everything. I do everything out of responsibility.
Uh huh.
So I think like I know stuff that could help the world, and I have to. That's it. And so, but then I I enjoy it. Like I would rather just be myself by myself and never talk to anybody or anything. It sounds terrible talking to you, right? Um, but when you get out of my default selfishness, I benefit a lot. I'll live a very depressing, boring life if I lived the life that I would live by default.
And what do you do for a living? Is it okay to ask?
Yeah, I'm a private maths and computer science teacher.
Oh,
And I'm totally online as well,
oh,
which is why I can just move to any country I want anytime as long as I got internet.
that's a little bit introverted.
Yes, probably,
You like to
and
think. You
also
like your mind. You like your mind to be thinking about things.
yes, that's
Uh-huh.
true.
Okay.
Um, but one of the reasons why I like this job is because I don't have to go to meetings at schools. I just have to I do my job 1 hour at a time, and then I'm in my own world, working out
And
things.
puzzles. You
Yeah.
like puzzles?
Um.
Like when you see things, when you see problems, do you kind of see them as puzzles where you're trying to put the pieces together to.
Okay, the puzzles I'm solving are how to express ideas that make the world a better place.
Uh-huh.
So I would plan lots of my talks, and then I'll reduce them and I'll rewrite them, and I'll say how can I make them into some sort of like narrative of some sort. That's the kind of puzzles I'm solving. I'm also a coder as well, so I made an app which is a very long story in itself, like an app that can teach anything. But that pretty sounds really cool, but it's a very long story. So I like coding. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, yeah. It's becoming about me now. I don't mind, but I'm just it's like, I'm trying to make it.
I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued by Speaker's Corner and all these people running around there doing all
Yeah,
this stuff. I never did any of this stuff until Claire. I don't even remember how I met her on the internet.
yeah,
Somehow, somehow I met her. Somehow on what I don't know. Maybe it's just a thread on Twitter or something. I just don't.
yeah.
And then I was.
So Claire's been really good for me because I bumped into her in Speaker's Corner.
Mm.
First of all, I found her really interesting, and I thought she was well ahead of the curve. Like to realize Islam is going to take over, and she just wants to be a politician to take advantage of that, and she's quite clear about that. Um, but it was just an interesting conversation. Then as I say, I don't really like. I'm not very good at what's it called. Networking, but she's always talking to everybody, and then she sends me to you, send me to the next person, send me another person, whatever, and it just keeps going. So, and then I've been to so many groups because of her, so it's been interesting.
Yeah, she's kind of an interesting thing, but we're not talking about a whole bunch about the
Claire,
Quran today. We're not turning it into this.
we're not talking about that. Yes.
Oh,
um yeah, so I
so what's
maybe
the
to bring it
future with
back.
Ahmadiyya? You think they're just going to keep expanding? Like what at what point the idea is we're going to be peaceful now until the day of judgment, and then like what's the long
um
term idea of this pacifism and
yeah,
everything?
yeah, it'll work out.
So
It's working really
it's
well.
like dawa
Like
for the world, kind of.
yeah, I would think that's so okay. Why is it sort of the ideology? How does it fit in? So as I said, we're the followers of the second coming of Jesus. What does that mean? It's a metaphorical, but if it's a metaphor, it should mean something, right? What did Jesus do compared to the rest of the Jews when he came? Even though they had eye for an eye, he also, I don't even know how it works to be honest, right? But somehow it's like turn the other cheek as well. I don't know how that fits in, but it's part of the law. You might know better than I do.
Turn the other cheek.
um
Well, some
yeah,
people, some Christians interpret it as total pacifism, but actually, Roman Catholics and stuff, viewed it as you're standing your ground. All right, so you're standing your ground. They hit your cheek, then you turn the other cheek. You're trying to keep violence down to the minimum, but you're standing.
that's basically what we're about.
Uh huh.
Where this is the time when everybody's fighting everybody for no reason. Somebody's got to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we got to find excuses to love the other person rather than hate people, because it's gonna and the people, the elite, are taking advantage of it. I mean, they're using divide and rule. Don't play into it, but people use their emotions. They don't think long
That's what
term
they're
or
doing in the
whatever.
United States right now. It's a big.
Well, they're doing that absolutely everywhere. Yeah,
So now let's say you have a big group of people
yeah,
and you're trying to negotiate peace between them, right? Uh, it's a better chance if they're all sitting down, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
So they should be
exactly.
sitting down because you can't start swinging while you're sitting down. So everyone needs to sit down. Oh,
And so, like, one reporter asked one of the caliphs, I think it was the third khalifa, who's the person who brought in this idea of love for right for none. It's actually based on Islamic idea. Prophet Muhammad was told, "You have not been raised, you have not come except for to be a mercy to all the people," which is essentially the same meaning. But I think the third khalifa got it from some sort of Chinese proverb. It was a way of basically saying in English a short idea of our stand, and it helps people understand us very quickly in one sentence.
what was the
So
sentence?
the love for all, hatred for
Oh,
none. Sorry, it's in my mind. I'm saying it in my mind. Okay, sorry. Thanks for asking the question. Um, so somebody said, some reporter asked him, "What are you here for in England? What are you doing here in England?" And he said, "To win the hearts." And the idea is that if we really understand human psychology, people are not logical. We're tiny percent logical, or mostly emotion. We're mostly emotional. You got to win the heart before you can win the mind. Yeah, get people to sit down, whatever. Yeah,
mhm.
and we think far longer than most people, so we get persecuted for years and years and years, and but we're growing. We don't. Yeah, um, yeah, something like that.
So uh, what is your idea about the Day of Judgment? I mean, if you believe, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be mean.
So it's okay.
Name, I
All right.
forgot his name. The
Yeah, it's hard to remember. Mirza Ghulam Ahmed. You can just say,
not
I
the
don't know, what
Amir,
would be.
um
You can say
the
Mirza.
first
That'd
one,
be quick.
What was this?
The first one, like the Khalifa.
The first one, yeah, the first one that
Mirza.
started all this. I forgot his name.
Oh, the Messiah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
promised
yeah. I forgot
Messiah,
his.
Mirza Ghulam Ahmed. So let's just say promised Messiah. That's what we
But you
normally
don't
say.
for the Day of Judgment. I mean, do you believe in this idea
We
that
believe in the Day of Judgment, but we don't believe that he would. So a lot of the Muslims believe that the Mahdi and the second coming of Jesus will come like right before the day of judgment, before everything's about to end, and basically force everybody to become Muslim or something, or
some
burn loads
kind
of
of
people
war? There's
alive.
some kind of
All sorts of really violent, crazy stuff, I would say. And a lot of stuff that, if you take literally, really doesn't make sense, like break all the crosses around the whole world and kill all the swines. Okay, these things don't really make sense. So what we believe, in short, without getting to like into debate about it, is the last phase of humanity, and it's the last 6 or 7 thousand years. I can't remember. So we still got a long time to go. It's the last phase.
So
Yeah,
you don't
that's all
think
it
there's
is.
going to be another Messiah, do you?
No,
Okay, so
but I mean, sorry.
he's the end now. He came back. He's the
Uh,
second coming.
do I think there's any prophet after the Messiah? I think there could be all sorts of things that are possible. It's open ended in the Quran,
Hmm.
because I mean, I might have mentioned the verse early Quran that says, if you obey Allah and His Messenger, you can be of the prophets, the truthful, the martyrs, and the righteous. So, like, it's open ended. It's up to God to decide what the need is to send a prophet or a Khalifa or something like that, if need be.
But you don't
But
have an idea that you're waiting for another Matthew and Messiah.
no, no, no. We're not waiting.
Yeah, you're
No,
not waiting.
we kind of expect a long, long. The general expectation is not really another prophet, more like lots of khalifas and unending khalifas, until finally humanity corrupts itself and then it
Really?
self-destructs completely. Yeah,
Oh man,
yeah.
more
We
pessimism.
do kind. Yeah, we're kind of expecting a third world war, though. Um, but we wish it wouldn't. But the kind of the vision is something along the lines of there probably will be a third world war, and humanity probably needs a third world war in a strange way because we're a very proud race, let's say human race, that we don't learn our lessons easily, and that destruction of everything will give us some humility, and thousands of people will become Muslim. We're sort of preparing for that, building lots of mosques and things like that. And we think the Khalifa currently is saying after the Third World War, most of Europe and the industrialized countries will be destroyed, but Africa will be the new future. So we're building that.
Oh, so you're building Africa. You're thinking
Yeah,
you're sort of as a group the idea is
post
to
yeah,
build
post
Africa.
Third World War plans. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so do you guys make plans for after this war? Like, do you have a
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's kind of that kind of plan. It's not exactly. It's definitely going to happen where we kind of expect it to happen. Yeah, and why? I mean, in some ways, it's logical. There's no need to shoot nuclear bombs at Africa. There's nothing there. You know, the main enemies are where Israel, London, New York.
do you guys okay, this okay, now I'm getting maybe a little bit weird here, but do you
Yeah,
guys get you guys like think of contingency plans about saving Africa or like how you
saving
rebuild it?
Africa.
I mean rebuilding it. Okay, the war is over.
Yeah, we're already building
So
it. We're already.
is the
Yeah.
idea okay, there's gonna be a massive war and all this destruction and then these people are gonna have to run to Africa so they can even breathe the air?
Oh, not just to run to Africa. We're rebuilding this country. We'll be serving our countries, but I think that's what an idea I was given that. Yeah, that's one of the possibilities. One of the more probable situations that will
Well, do you
happen. That
guys like
Africa will
draw
be left alone
do you
relatively.
guys draw up plans for this?
All sorts of there are all sorts of plans. So like even like one of my friends was responsible for doing presentations in the case of nuclear bombs. What
Mhm.
should we do? Should we build shelters and things like that? So I think maybe Ahmadi Muslims are maybe on a project to build some shelters as well.
Like, do you think they'll build
Also,
shelters underneath all these masjids? I think it's like
possibly.
something
Yes, I
interesting.
think so. Yes, actually, there's already things happening. Each mosque is getting its, I think, its own generator and its own water supply. So yeah, we're getting
So
ready
you
for World War
guys are
Three.
a little bit on the survivalist idea. You're gonna the
Yeah.
world
I
survive
mean, we
after the
expect it.
war. You're gonna
I mean, one of the reasons why we expect it is because the promised Messiah made prophecies about the World War One and Two, and I think he's made some sort of prophecy regarding three. So yeah, we're kind of expecting it. And I think one of our interpretations of Armageddon is basically essentially World War Three. Like when you say fire raining from the sky, that's just bombs.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's not the end, literally the end of the world. It's kind of like the end of like the last phase, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you guys are building your bomb shelters, kind of.
I believe so. I don't know all the plans, but
And
yeah, I think
do
we probably
you
will
have
be. Yeah.
plans? Like, do you plan and stockpile? Uh,
Yeah. So I mean, at one point, the Khalifa said, "Do there was some earlier problems in Europe in terms of food, and they said you can stockpile a few bit of food." And some people take that more seriously. People like me just don't take it seriously enough, so I don't stockpile
what
anything.
about
But
medical
some people
supplies?
do.
Do you think do they stockpile medical supplies?
Some the mosque
Not
might. I don't
individual
know.
people. I mean, like, are there
No,
plans for? Okay, we're gonna have plans. You know, I tell you where this is coming from. Actually,
yeah, go on.
is
Yeah,
which I don't know very much about because my dad didn't talk about. But after World War II, my dad
yeah,
had gone to Europe to help draw up the plans for the defense of Europe in the case of World War III.
right.
And so I'm just kind of curious, like, so they have a thing in the military. So there's also civilian defense, like groups of the military set up in the United States. It's military, but their purpose is to help in the times of war the people in the country. Okay, so it's sort of like National Guard, but separate. Do you guys have something like that that you guys have set up? something like
Like a national guard thing.
not well, not National Guard. We have National Guard too. That's like a different thing. But
Mm.
civilian defense, like if you go in the military, you also could maybe run civilian defense units, and their purpose is if there's war, their plans
Mm.
are going to come out and help save people. They're gonna take over
It's
food
quite
distribution.
possible we could
Food distribution. You
that.
guys ever talk?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I could. So the Khuddam, which are the young men in the
Mhm.
community, they're the kind of people who'd easily be directed to do something nearer the time,
But
easily,
I mean, are
that
you,
kind of
or
thing.
do you do guys play around with the plans now? Like say, okay, if we had a war next month.
I don't know. Like for example, I only know about the bunker plans, or whatever, just because I have one of my friends in that to do a presentation. Like,
Mhm.
there's so many things happening that yeah, there's just so many things happening in the community. Not everybody knows everything. It's not like because it's a secret. It's just like there's too many things happening in all directions. There's mosques and so many things being made. Tayo, a friend of Claire and mine, says, "Could a new Khalifa change the doctrine of violence and religious wars?" No, because this Messiah, promised Messiah, that was his thing. He was supposed to end religious wars. Yeah, and yeah, so that's the answer to that. Hope he wasn't waiting too long. Let's see, how long was that? 22:37, about half an hour ago. I don't know if he
So
saw that.
how many
Yeah,
Ahmadiyya are in the whole world?
I think 20 million. I think I don't think
Mhm.
it's that we're very tiny compared to everybody else, but
But you're
yeah,
sort
but we
of spread
managed to do.
out.
Yeah, we're spread out. Yeah, and and this is the weird thing. Like, we were persecuted so much that we had to leave Pakistan. But if we were not persecuted, we wouldn't have spread out so quickly as we have. And we've done really well. We've done really well. Um, so
I get Ismail. Ismail. Now I'm really curious about asking Ismailis. Like, what exactly are you guys?
I really have to research them. I think you mentioned them last time, and I was thinking of going to one of their mosques or something just to check them out and
They're
finding out
very
more. But
they're very secretive. You can't go to their stuff really if you're not Ismaili.
right,
And
yeah,
so it's hard for me
yeah.
to.
So I suppose one of the things I'm just thinking back to the thumbnail of the video, and I said something along the lines of a community like no other, and I really do think I doubt very much, and I've never seen anything or never heard anybody talk about a community like the Ahmadiyya community, because not just because of all the branches and all the things, but it's just always happening. I think that's a really unusual thing, and it's not like those guys who have their own land. Who are those guys who have their own land and they don't use any technology, and they're usually in America
Oh,
or
Amish.
whatever. Amish, right? It's not like that because they're just to themselves. We include everybody. We're not secretive. We like have our meetings on TV, that kind of thing. Um, yeah, I mean, just to give you an idea of how unsecretive we are. Like, at one point, I think the British government were thinking of sending people like spies to listen into Friday's sermons, like making sure they're not doing terrorist things. And the Khalifa said, "Yeah, send spies to all our meetings, including our Friday sermons, because we don't believe in we believe in not state control, but we don't believe in
We'll give you
we're
a
more of
seat. We'll give a seat for you now. You can be sitting on this nice seat right here up in front. You can hear every word perfectly what we're saying.
oh yeah. If the funny thing, like when I'm in Jordan, there's a lot of secret police
Yeah,
everywhere,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And when we get called up, like they know us where we are, Ahmadi. Like all the Ahmadi Muslims are really like, yeah, let's go. What do you want to ask about Ahmadis? Like we're going to start preaching to you in the interrogation. So quite happy about that. Yeah.
There was uh, there was a guy here, a brother
Yeah.
here, and in the United States, yeah, they send the FBI in and stuff, and Homeland Security or whatever. Now they come in and sit around and they try to listen and see if they can hear anything, but sometimes they're a little bit too obvious because maybe they'd show up and they're not dressed quite right compared to how this particular group dresses. So it looks like a bunch of people from a different masjid showed up, maybe, except none of them will sit together. They'll go sit in different places. Where normally, if you come in with friends, you would sit with your friends.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
kind of a
yeah.
joke. So somebody they get uppity. They would get trying to find out stuff, and they're accusing stuff. So this one guy, this is back years ago when students are kind of silly. He went down to the FBI office. He goes, okay, I'll tell you what they were all talking about. And he started giving them speeches on annihilation of their naps. He kept doing this, showing up for this. So first they're like all interested. Then he kept doing this, and finally they said, "Don't even bother coming back here. We don't want to see you anymore." He was like such a kind of a clown person or something. It was pretty funny
Yeah.
though. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's just kind of like, okay, just come sit with us then if you want to know what we're saying. There's nothing going on.
Yeah, yeah, we're like that.
We're big
Yeah,
ducks.
we had a person convert from one of the spies, so it was quite funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, what they
it's
do?
good.
They
Keep
told you
listening.
afterwards I'm a spy and now I'm converted.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember. You hear stuff, secondhand, third-hand
Oh,
information.
it's
Who
just
knows?
kind of yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, yeah, I kind of like these people.
yeah.
Food's good. All right.
Claire, I'm not going to take any of your time, and you're saying the same thing exactly at the same time, so we know it's time to finish.
All right.
Thank you so much, sister. I appreciate your time.
It was
Assalamu
nice. It
alaikum.
was nice talking to you. Assalamu alaikum.
I enjoyed it as well. Thank you.